Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Y'all are brewheads? Yeah, we brewheads. So pour a glass of craft beer, we can do this. Yeah.
What's good, y'all? This is C Certified Brewhead, and welcome to episode 78 of Beer Not Just the Podcast Adjunct series. I am back here with the Queen of BAOS, Tiffany Alexis.
Oh, well, thank you. I like that one. Queen of BAOS. What was I using before?
Liquid Enthusiast.
But Queen of BAOS.
Kind of good,
that's
right?
another one.
Ooh,
Yeah. Hey, guys. Nice to be back.
So, I really like these, we've said it before. I love these chill episodes where we can just kind of, relax.
Hang back, relax. We're sitting on the couch for those who don't know. Oh, you're always on the couch, technically.
Always on the couch.
But, we're sitting back reclined in a way.
Just,
all right? So picture us reclined. Lamping, as it were. Oh,
as
look at
that. And, it's just like a nice chill episode. We're just going to have a chat with you guys and talk about some real shit that, the interviews are, I love the interviews. They're like the core of these type of, what we built BOS on. But these little chats where we get to just talk about stuff without,
just kind of let it go, let the
see
conversation flow. Got a nice chicken soup being made in the background there, So hopefully that doesn't come through. I don't think so.
No,
we
get a little
sounds,
bit oven sounds, but
or stove sounds. But yeah, it's a nice chicken soup ready. It's gonna taste good with whatever beer we end up with.
Oh yeah, we get a couple bangers tonight.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I am very excited. Good segue. Thank you.
Well done. So we talked about this beer in our last episode we did together, which was the first one back on the Adjunct series.
Yes. Oh, we did talk about it. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's our collaboration beer with Nickel Brook, the Green Apple Lager. There we go, with a really cute little apple character on there, drinking a beer. There's the old BOS. Get that in ya. So as we said, this was a redesign of their classic Green Apple Pilsner, which was a important beer for me when I was coming up.
I wish this actually was edited in a way so you could put in some of the
stuff.
Yeah.
That's why we need the soundboard.
You need the soundboard. Yeah. Guys, you got to look up the Marvel. It was the first time for me, Owen Wilson video on YouTube. It's the worst cutting and editing ever, and it's time. Like your Marvel guys.
Don't mess up.
Yeah.
Very funny. So it was important. That was the Green Apple Pilsner. You're so welcome. Was an important beer for my early, beer drinking days when I. Oh wow.
You really chissed yourself. Yeah. I'm winning over here.
Oh no, that's fine. I can take a sip of yours later.
Okay.
It's fine. So
it'll be a bit messy. That's what I was like if I try.
Yeah, I was gonna say don't even risk it. They had a Green Apple Pilsner that was sort of kind of a weird. When you think about it, it's kind of weird, like a green apple.
Yeah.
Crispy. But it was super popular. I enjoyed it back in the day because I was just learning about beer, and I think I told the story about me and Scott going up to the brewery, and John Romano, the owner, gave us the tour, and blah, blah, blah. So, special place to my heart. Then we got to do this collab. So, basically, we switched it up. I pitched the smoothie. They came back at me, which we agreed with, but then they wanted to do something bigger with it because it was such an important beer for the brewery.
Yeah.
So, they decided to go with the lager, and we just added, and this wasn't even my idea. No one even probably believes me, but we added lactose and spices,
which
is great. So it's kind of like an apple pie.
They knew the vibes.
They did, right? It's like a lager. So I poured a little opaque, nice little fluffy head.
I really love this beer.
It's fantastic, right?
I really love it.
What are you getting on the nose there?
Before I even sip it, I'm just going to talk about the fact that I just remember when I tried it, I was like, oh wow, this is just super refreshing, just delicious, smooth.
The team did a genuinely great job. I'm really impressed.
I get a bit of candy.
Candy?
Yeah.
I'm definitely getting the breadiness, but there's a little bit of sweet. That is that
and that's
sweet, sticky apple.
Sticky. Yes.
It's kind of like it describes it. They describe it on the can like apple pie. So there's kind of a little bit because of the spices make it feel like this graham cracker or some sort of pastry thing. Anyway, we can talk about this shit forever. Let's get it. Cheers.
Santé.
Cheers, y'all.
Yeah, it's just great. The spices are perfect.
It's like, on paper, it shouldn't work.
But actually, when you really think about it, why not? Because it's like a delicious apple pie.
Yeah. Well, I guess
a light apple, when you get a nice light... fair enough, it shouldn't work. But I mean, when I'm really looking at this now and just tasting it, I'm like, actually, it is like a delicious apple pie. There's right in the inside there. Just the inside part,
Yeah.
And then you get the little bit of the bready. Yeah, you get the filling. I was like, the
crust,
inside part. I was like, he's talking about a dessert connoisseur of any means, and I do not bake, guys. The filling. It gives me the filling vibes, and I love that so much.
And it's, you know, as you were talking, I was sort of swirling it around, and I was getting a lot of those spices, but they're so, restrained is the word. They're not overkill. They do just what they need to do. The lactose, I can't even really pick it. I'm getting a bit of the tanginess from the green apple, but it's not overkill, and it's just like a nice, they describe it as a fruited dessert lager. I couldn't describe it any better. Mm-hmm. I'm really proud that even Nickel Brook would work with us for this. We've had a great relationship with them for quite some time now, and you know, Jen and Liam and the team and just fantastic. And I think Joe, if I'm not mistaken, God, I hope I got that name right, the brewer who took over from Ben. He was already the assistant brewer, but he didn't want to get into the big the head brewer role. Big brewer. That's what they should call it. Can I speak to the big brewer?
Can I get to the big brewer, please?
Fuck's sake. I think this might be distorting a bit. Let me just turn that down.
That's actually hilarious.
I don't know why. I really don't know why. So, you know, it came out really well. What I was mostly surprised with, though, was, say, Nickel Brook are a larger brewery. They've been around for 20-odd years. And their fan base, you know, are craft beer fans, but kind of they're more of a gateway brewery, so they have a wider fan base than other breweries. Mm-hmm. They do a bunch of crazy shit. Like, they do some, like, super fun stuff with fruit and lactose and crazy double IPAs or fruited stouts and these crazy barrel-aged, like, you know, the Kentucky Bastard series is A1. Yeah. But I was concerned that Nickel Brook's fan base wouldn't particularly understand this beer. Mm-hmm. Yes, they already fucked with the green apple Pilsner, but I thought that the lactose and the spices would turn people off. I didn't see one, and I mean this, not even one
like negative
comment.
Nice.
Not one. No one said anything to me. I guess they probably didn't tell me.
Yeah.
But people tend to like to tell you how they feel about stuff.
I was going to check Untapped and see.
Check Untapped. There you go. I'm referring to social. I didn't...
Oh, yeah, okay. Actually, because Untapped is just...
No, check Untapped.
I'm going to check.
That's where you're going to get the most.
Yeah, it's such a cool place, but I'm just curious to see.
The, all the posts that we made, and the posts that Nickel Brook made, and so many other people got the beer, tagged us both. I really appreciate the tags as well, because we're not the brewery, obviously. We're the collaboration partner. Yeah. So we don't always... There you go. That's what I'm looking for. I can't think of voice today. Yeah. And they, you know, people don't always realize, they don't always tag. Some people buy the beer, they have no idea who we are, so we don't always get the tag. And all the people that tagged us were always saying something super nice about it.
This is cute. People taking it with photos with apples. That's not even green apples, though, my friend.
No, red apples, but apples and apples.
Apples,
yes.
Nonetheless.
See, it's all.
It goes back and forth.
Oh, people saying not so positive?
Oh no, I'm saying I don't. Sorry, I mean like there's just reviews that are like 3. No one said anything.
Oh, okay, cool. Sometimes
but it's like 4, 5, 3.
Some 4. People leave. Okay, good.
Okay, so yeah, nobody's like this is disgusting.
Oh, that was old. They gave the 2. Go back.
Oh, see, that's the problem. Some of them were older.
It's the old one. So that was the old one. They did it.
Oh, that's the one thing too. They're mixed. It's mixed in here, so it's not a separate.
Actually, it should. Hang. What did you say? Oh, that's green apple beer. This should be green apple lager.
Okay, you can keep talking. Let me look for it.
Okay, keep going.
Because our photo is in here. Our can is in here.
So that means people
are probably mixing it up.
Doing both, and they're
see, because there's wow, this is vintage design. Check that vintage out. I'm so sorry, not this one. This one must have been like, hold on, what was it? I think I saw like the first one.
Yeah, I wanted them to actually have that.
Oh,
one.
this is vintage. So
they used to have that on a bottle first. I want to hold it. Hold up and show the camera. Even.
Oh yeah, I can show you guys.
Oh look, there's a separate. Oh no, you're right. Green apple fruit dessert lager.
Oh, okay. So I don't think people know that because they're putting it under. Look at that vintage style, guys. There you go. I'm blocking my face, yet you're still not zooming in. I need to block. It's your face block. Oh, there it is. There it is. There she is. Now that is vintage. I love that. Actually, that's cool.
So what I actually pitched them, interesting story, was the green apple guy. He's holding like a pint of beer there. Probably not going to clear up. Which is a green apple cartoon character on the label, and I pitched them that he's holding a bottle with the original label on it.
Yeah, I remember. That
was the idea. They didn't do it. I didn't ask why in the end. I was just like, okay, cool. But I thought it could have been enough space to have that, and you could just actually get the real file and put it in.
Yeah. So cool. Though.
Or at least draw cool like a loose thing around it. Yeah. No, they did a really great job. So I'm really satisfied in having it again now. Yeah, it's super solid. It's a fun beer. So that was that. So you can grab it from Nickel Brook's online store and from I think it's the Etobicoke and the Burlington Brewery. So definitely go get that because it's fire. There should be some left, and I think if people liked it enough, they were going to try and distro it next year. So bring it back, make it a regular thing, which is what we want because we do have a regular thing with. I can probably.
Nice. It has a lot of love.
A lot of love.
The other one, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, everyone likes an apple pie with their thing, you know.
Yeah, because it's just not offensive. That's probably a good thing, and it's not too much for anybody. Like maybe people don't.
It's not too much of anything. It's not too much of anything. It's just perfectly like balanced.
They did a great job.
Really descriptive word. I'm like balance.
Balance.
You know, that's what it is.
Crushable. Yeah. Drinkable.
Drinkable.
I'm guilty.
Get it in, yeah.
I use it again. There you go. Great review. The other collabs, I was going to say, like it'd be cool if this did become a regular thing, because then it'd be a regular collab. Super proud of. We could go to an LCBO and see our logo on a can, which we haven't had. That's never happened. It's only not in Quebec, but not. It's not. It's not distributed that way. It's different here because we get to have beer everywhere. Correct. Yeah. So I've seen it in stores. Have we seen that stuff in stores?
Yeah, because like Beer Vacances was in stores.
And,
I think we for sure saw Love Dust in stores too.
Yeah, which was cool.
We don't go outside anymore, but if we did go outside, for sure we would have seen Hello Montreal.
In places, people were sending us lots of photos of that.
Yeah.
So they are. I mean, I guess we're not out here enough, but it'd be cool to see it in like something like the LCBO. So that is dope. And then speaking of that, I think we touched on it last time, but we have another collab dropping. It's the end of October now, so I think it's next month with them. A revamp of Bière de Vacances, which I'm excited about. Different fruit combos and stuff. You're a set designer, aren't you?
I know. I'll try not to distract.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
But that's coming soon, so we'll keep you guys posted on that one. Got to get Simo on the pod again. We haven't had him back. I know he sort of probably prefers an in-person one.
Yeah, miss him.
Yeah, I miss him.
Yeah.
He's the best, man.
Yeah, he is. He truly is.
Simon from the Spas probably.
Beautiful man.
Head brewer, I guess.
Great person.
The big brewer.
Yeah, the big brewer. The big brewer over there.
The big man on campus, as they call it.
Exactly. So big women on campus too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
He just happens to be the big man.
Yeah, but he's a big man.
He identifies as such.
Yeah, very
yeah.
Fair enough.
I'm looking at our list of other stuff to chat about. So something else we've been working on recently. We've got like a main topic we're going to talk about this evening, but we've just got a couple small.
You'll know by the description of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know the vibes. One thing is cool. Muskoka Brewery, who are another old-time favorite of ours, a brewery that I got into when I very first got into craft beer. So they were one of the first. I was Muskoka, Nickel Brook, Wellington, BAOS, Mill Street, Trafalgar, who are no longer. A few breweries like that just happened to be around and had
like
Great Lakes from the beginning.
Yeah.
And they were a big deal for us. So Muskoka have we've worked with them a couple of times on campaigns actually.
Yeah. But
great news for them is that they're now in Quebec. They have 4 SKUs in Quebec. They've got their Detour Session IPA. They have Hazed and Confused, their New England, or Juicy IPA as they call it. They have Mad Tom West Coast, and they have Twice as Mad Tom, their Double West Coast IPA.
Yeah.
So those 4 bad boys are now in Quebec. So we've been running a bunch of, did some cool content creation. We had to go places. Did some.
Yeah, went around, went to Montreal Blanc, went to Prince Edward County, which technically isn't in Quebec, but it's right over.
It was Doc. It was Doc focused
it was beautiful,
beers,
exactly.
And we happened to be there, so it was kind of.
And then that's why I found the Detour video from the last campaign too, and I just posted that recently because I was like, that was such a good time.
When was that one? 2018
that was
or
2018, I believe.
18. Jesus.
Maybe 2019. No, it had to be 2019.
They did we did a campaign with Muskoka for, I forgot what it was called.
It was Unplugged. Unplugged with... Unplugged with...
I thought it was 24 hours to disconnect. Something with the word
disconnect.
Oh,
but I had like Unplugged in the hashtag, so I assumed it had to be something like that. So it was Muskoka Unplugged? You did have to disconnect for 24 hours, though.
And actually not be online. And obviously we run an online business and do all this type of stuff, so...
That was very hard.
Yeah, we did most of it.
We did a majority.
We did the best we could.
We partially understood the assignment.
Just partially.
Yeah, partially. Yeah.
And we went to Vermont. We decided to use the cash to pay for a car and a rental spot, like a nice thing in the sticks in Warren, Vermont, at this like resort kind of thing. That's really
miss you.
Good. Yeah. That was really cool.
Yeah.
So I like Muskoka. They do some. They're probably one of the premier gateway breweries as well, I would say, that bring people across that have some solid stuff for the nerds, but also, have some not so scary stuff for the noobs.
Yeah.
So it's cool that they're in Quebec.
Everyone's just doing cool stuff.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they're just like a cool brewery. And I'm happy for Quebec that like something that's just like so high quality, like always just good, reliable, dependent, fun, just here now. So that's good.
Yeah.
And I hope more Ontario breweries just continue to come here.
Same.
Yeah, I think it's like it's increased a bit, right?
What do you mean as far as
in terms of Ontario
in
getting
Quebec
to Quebec.
because
there's
of
been
trans
some
brew
people,
mostly.
yeah. It could definitely be more, but I feel like it's getting better.
It's a
Because
touchy
really, I
subject.
just want the beer to be everywhere. That's all. I just want everybody's beer to be everywhere. That's what the overall goal is.
Yeah.
And I know with Quebec, it's just even a bit more difficult because you also have to consider translations and all that stuff.
Then I had to change the labels.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's like a good. I appreciate seeing. It makes me feel good when I see like something from Ontario, like having being a mainstay. It's cool.
Yeah, I agree. And even talking, I think the only pushback is that some people think there's just enough beer in the local market, like you don't need anything else. But I think that's the only negative thing I saw someone say.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that.
Yeah, I was like, you should always support and shop local, but it also just helps like even tourism and things all together. Like maybe you try beer, you get excited, so you go to Muskoka and you spend money in Ontario. Is that so bad? Like you're still in Canada spending, like
that's really what it is.
The country.
Yeah.
So I don't. Yeah. Like fine, I respect it, but it's just like I'm not like only ever gonna eat at a local restaurant ever. Like if something from Ontario came here, I don't know, I'd be like, oh, that's cool. Like, I don't know, it's Canadian stuff.
And exactly, it's not like it's foreign stuff. And people go and buy Belgian beer all the time.
If you're upset with just like if you want to only do local stuff, I'm like you can at least get local Canada. You can support.
Yeah, I agree with
more
that
money across for everybody because Quebec could be able to sell in different places. Everybody wants Quebec beer. There's much money that could be injected into Quebec breweries if they were able to sell freely everywhere too. So it would only benefit everybody. I think.
It's just as hard for Quebec brewers to get into Ontario. The whole that's the whole other conversation. But the whole Canadian system needs to change. It's pretty wild. But I don't know, it's cool. I guess we've been seeing more of it lately because, like, traditionally we didn't have anything here from outside the province. Now we've got a whole bunch, Two Crows and Trailway. As far as like from the East Coast,
this is all through Transfer.
Those two are.
They've got stuff on lock.
They've done pretty well.
Did BAOS come through Transfer?
Initially, yes, and I think they set up their own thing now. But that was how they got in the door. That was the first that I recall. Anyway,
coming in
since we've done this. I imagine it was the first one.
Yeah.
Who else came through?
Oh my gosh! Because that was like the beginning of our BAOS interviews. Actually,
was
because BAOS was in Quebec.
Fuck, you're right.
That's actually nuts.
We were talking about that.
Yeah,
today,
we were talking about it with Dan.
Dan.
Yeah, because we were like, BAOS ended up being something we didn't even expect. Like, we sat and had an interview with the brewer, and then brewers were like, "Yeah, interview us," and we're like, "Oh, what breweries want to be on this podcast?" Like, what? Yeah,
not
so.
You idiot,
but yeah, I think so. We were just talking about it, but yeah, that is actually what got us started. We went to that event, and then we ended up, doing our
great point.
Yeah.
So therefore, the Ontario beer coming in Quebec essentially took BAOS to another level because we became. And that night, not only did we interview Matt from O'Hara from BAOS,
who's the big brewer.
The big brewer at BAOS. I want to call the episode that, but we've got a better name. And then I met Pierre, who's now back in France, but he was working for Gutenberg at the time. So then he got us in with Gutenberg.
Yeah. And then they didn't like that we were swearing in the name.
And then we changed.
So then we changed it to BAOS. Look at that.
So that night was very faithful.
Yeah,
that whole thing. So maybe we got an extra soft spot for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is kind of cool. So I'm happy that they're here. I've got some friends obviously who own depanneurs and stuff, and one of them actually specifically messaged me because he saw it in a Metro supermarket, sent me a photo of it, he bought it, and he then sent me a photo of him drinking it in the park.
Nice.
Because he said he doesn't get the beers are typically, at least Muskoka, I think they've gone for more the supermarket, larger, widespread.
Oh, so they're not showing up as much in the depths.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He said I probably won't get it because it's a Metro brand.
Yeah.
So saying that it's like the larger thing, but he enjoyed it, and
Okay,
he didn't have any objection to it. And
it's
he's a
great
bit
beer.
of a picky dude, Kev.
Yeah.
And it's a great. It is. And I told him it was like a Canadian classic. It was a massive beer. I think it came out in 2011 when I first got into beer, and it was like, what is this? It was just like that punch in the fucking face. West Coast, but it's cool. I'm happy for them. I'm happy that that it's working. That we're able to do it and make some fun content with them. So that was that. So I'm satisfied with that one.
I love it.
What else we got? Yeah, I thought I'd give you guys a quick link up update.
Mm-hmm.
For those who we talked about it on the last podcast ourselves. Link Up is our non-profit we started with the guys from Saint-Pierre Baron in Elmer, Quebec. We did a full season, Tiff and I, season 10.
That was season 10,
This is back to season 9 because we're allowed to jump around because it's in the Zany.
Yeah.
So season 10 is our ongoing link-up season where we got 5 of the 6 breweries. Didn't work out for the last one, but all good. We got 5 of them when we discussed at length and all the different breweries who did collaborations for our non-profit, which helps, I think I should have said that first, helps BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color get into craft beer, so we just diversify the industry.
Yeah.
Because it is arguably one of, if not the widest industries going next to wine.
It is the widest industry going all across the board. I don't know if it's all across, the board, but it's a pretty wide industry. So yeah. Goal with Link Up is to, you know, kind of when you look at strategy from the top down, take it from the top down. So get people in, get support people who want to even own breweries themselves that are, you know, from the BIPOC community to see if we can help diversify by getting it through the labor. So, you know, like get through labor, through...
like introducing the industry in and of itself.
Yes, I was like, what is a term? My terms are terrible today.
I think we're having a...
So not labor, there. What's the actual... Yeah, that
jobs?
Is... Yeah, jobs, but there was an actual, like, more technical, HR-friendly term I was trying to go for with that. You know, from employees. Basically, we want more diverse employees and owners, so that way that trickles down even into the tap room. Workforce.
There you go.
I'm like, labor.
You're getting it. Same shit.
Rough.
Hey, trust me, welcome to Big Brewers.
We're trying to diversify, basically diversify the craft beer industry from the inside. That's how you can look at it.
Yep.
And we've been blessed to know many and fantastic people in the industry, a lot of people who care about the same things that we do, and know that it's important for the industry to grow, and just for the sake of just humanity, that things need to be more integrated, more diverse, and it's only going to benefit everybody. So really thrilled with how this first, and we could say, like, cohort of Link Up has gone.
I keep thinking that one's on.
Yeah, really? That's hilarious. I never really thought about that before. But how Link Up has gone, so, yeah. But, sorry, I cut you off.
No, completely. You're correct. It's been great.
Yeah, it's been really awesome. So
the response is awesome.
Did we talk about the fact that we had our young man who's going through the Cicerone, for example?
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, okay, let's just,
If we did the first time, apologies if it was the last one, we'll keep it brief.
Yeah.
We're only like 2 months in doing this damn program, not knowing jack about being, you know, running non-for-profit.
Yeah, just knowing what we want to do, but not really understanding the full intrigue.
Building the plane as we fly.
Exactly.
So we keep telling people.
Yeah.
And we've actually had 2 successful participants in the program, which we are stoked about.
Yeah.
We had a young man named Adrian Clark, who I forgot his job. I think he's tap room. I don't know if he's tap room manager or he's like, you know, bartending, but he's working at Town Brewery in Whitby, Ontario, and you know, shouts to Jeff and the team. Jeff also participated, or Town participated in the first series of collaborations with Link Up. So Adrian was already working there beforehand, but part of Link Up is to empower Adrian. He is a young black kid from the Durham region, and I think he might be Jamaican if I'm not mistaken.
Represent.
Right? Super. It seems like everyone like raves about him. Looks like a super cool kid, and we can help him progress in craft beer because we are partners with Cicerone, and Cicerone are so kindly gifted us scholarships.
Yeah.
You know, half a dozen scholarships we can give out to people, and Adrian was our very first recipient. Got to check in with him and see how he's doing with the study and the program and stuff. But that's going to help him learn more about beer, and we'll be able to fund him essentially through his whole levels of Cicerone if he continues and he enjoys it, which is more than, you know, it's exactly what we exist to do, to get him further up the chain so then he can get his knowledge up and be open for bigger and better and higher paying positions and grow within the industry. And as he gets more passionate about the industry, the idea is that he would be an evangelist and then tell his, you know, his community, which could be anybody, but, you know what I'm saying, his family and people that he may be around that aren't typically aware of craft beer and haven't really had a lot of access to it. That's the whole point. So that was
you get it from all angles because you get to assist with hopefully, you know, leveling up somebody in their career so that they can in the end make more money, and you inject more money also into that community, so that's something to think about too. But in addition, you hopefully, you know, continue to diversify and bring it from the inside out, and work it from the inside.
Which is the point. Exactly. So
if you know anyone out there who is looking to, you know, level up their beer knowledge, holler at us. As long as they're part of that community, we're in. Just holler at us. So
please do. At Link Up Beer on social and linkupbeer.com. We actually have a .org. .com. Why can't we just
One day. I'm coming for you, linkup.com.
Oh, Link Up.
Oh, no, we're supposed to be. We're just such a fail today. Linkupbeer.org. It's been a long one day. Linkupbeer.com. We can actually get that, but I guess because we're an organization, so we're supposed to have that.
We could probably have it to divert to it. So
Talk to
that
us
was
about it.
that was the first success story.
Yeah.
The second success story is a young lady named Sarah. She's from Colombia. I didn't deal with the full story, so I don't recall her movements if she'd lived here before. But she was moving back to Montreal. She applied. She hadn't had any experience in beer. Was fascinated with the brewing process. She'd done other fermented products like kombucha and other Colombian drinks she was telling that I hadn't heard of. And so she would move to Montreal, and we connected her with one. I don't want to say who it is, the brewery, because they're a part of the next series. But connected with the brewery here, and she ended up getting a job as a bartender. So, they were looking, she was looking, we connected them because they'd already agreed to be a part of the next series. And not only has she now started her job this week as a bartender there, she also, we gifted her the second scholarship for Cicerone because she's going to be front of house, she's going to learn more. And then if she's going to do any apprenticeships in the production side, we will cover her apprenticeships as well because this brewery have an option for that.
Yeah.
Almost said the name. So it's dope. Like, that was super cool.
Yeah,
so that's
really,
two
really
people right now that within 2 months, and once again, we didn't know what the response would be.
Yeah.
We know it's more of a challenge here in Quebec too.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
there's less of an understanding of it, and because there's less in people's faces. Derek from Brewski explained it on.
Yeah, he had really good points. You all should check out that podcast series if you haven't.
3, I think it was.
Yeah, and it's fair. You can't fix what you don't even know is going on in a way. So we all just need to educate ourselves, and like every place has just a whole different climate and relationship.
And that's what we have to
things.
deal
Like,
with too.
we talked to Bebo, and he's like from the States, so he has a different understanding, comprehension, and knowledge of what's going on. How bad things can get, I feel like, because a lot of people in the States are much more aware, especially depending on what state you're from.
Yeah.
Like what police brutality looks like, what inequity looks like. Oh yeah, what inequity looks like. There's just some people who have better knowledge. Quebec just doesn't really have that all the way yet.
Yeah,
that's what's fair.
That's what's fair.
So I think it's awesome to have these leaders coming out from Quebec who want to make sure that they're finding a way to show up, even if they didn't grow up fully understanding, what the hell is going on.
Yeah,
So.
100%. I think that's a great thing. Do you want to just take the photo in while we're still talking about that? Tiff is the whiz.
I'll take it off camera.
Oh, okay. I love that. I love that. Do you want any of the beer? Do you want any of the glasses?
No,
even
not
if it's
the
empty?
glasses.
No, it's kind of whack. I don't even have another cold one to even.
That's okay.
Should have thought about it. Guys. See, we're not having a good brain day. But yeah, so that has been fantastic. The second two things we have our second series of collaborative beers. So far we had 6 breweries. Basically, we're going to be doing 6 collaborative beers every quarter. So this will probably work out to be just outside of the quarter because we started the other one later, so it wasn't timed out as well. But in January, second week of January, the next series begins. We have 3 breweries from Ontario, 3 from Quebec, as we did the first time. And I imagine as we grow, that will change. As more people become aware of what Link Up is and want to get more involved, there'll be people from different places, which is super dope. We'll just continue to go. So these breweries are all phenomenal. There's a great range of styles and vibes from these ones. So very excited for Series 2. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be talking about that at Link Up Beer. And very soon, I don't know if we're going to do it beforehand or in time with Series 2, but we do have some merch. We have some merch and a bunch of different cool items that will obviously, we engaged by POC artists to get involved to design the merch, and they obviously get paid to do that, which is great. So we can inject money into independent by POC artists, which is great. And a few other things like that, and all the money from the merch will go right back into Link Up so we can continue to fund different careers in the industry in the effort to diversify it so that it grows to the level that it really can be.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
It becomes a beautiful, beautiful, inclusive community.
Right?
Made up of all different people and races.
And you know what? It could probably help
genders.
The thing we're about to talk about next.
Yeah.
Because if we had a diverse industry, this shit
probably
probably
wouldn't have all
wouldn't
the
happen so
troubles
much.
that were happening all the time.
So, I mean, I don't even know where to start here, but
Yeah, it's
let's just
we
get
can
right
skip
into
that,
it.
right?
Yeah, let's skip
it's
that.
So,
We'll just go straight
let's
into
go
the big
into,
thing because that was a good segue.
I think
You want to
I think we can
summarize it?
start it.
How do you want to? Because we don't want to talk about maybe position.
No, I think it's fair to talk directly about it. So basically, we want to talk about, you know, can craft breweries who have been canceled be redeemed? Or are you supposed to, is it curtain call? It's kind of what. And this kind of conversation actually came up because just obviously we're together, we're talking all the time, we're looking at things that happen in the industry. And this actually came up because that McKellar event just happened.
Yes, over the weekend, you said, right?
Over the weekend. So, like, just passed. Looked like it was pretty much a full house, though. So that's something I noticed. Like, I don't know how this impacted their numbers. However, basically, McKellar had an event that was coming up. And given their history, and I guess we should also double back and say, I can speak on your behalf. Like, we are always believing any victim ever, any survivor ever, 1,000%. We're always just going to believe it. We'll always err that way. Yeah. So, like, that's just it. There's not really anything that can be said around that. We're just always in that direction. So, we're always going to believe.
Yes.
So, McKellar, they had a series of allegations that came out against them, and I believe, and like I'm looking at things as they come my way, I'm not like diving deep into anything. I do believe this was part of like that Me Too brewery reckoning that happened, which was earlier this year. It was like summertime. I believe that is because that encouraged, just as it did in the entertainment industry, encouraged people to come out and share their stories. So they were fucking up big time. So clearly they were fucking up, and we believe anyone who said over it's various things. It was like from HR to SA to like. I
know people know what SA is.
Well, we're not going to say it because I'm not going to ruin.
It's
it basically
acronym.
means you're doing things that you're not supposed to be doing, and infringing on people's rights from their bodies, etc. We're just not going to say the full words here, but they were accused of that. So that came out about them, and that was earlier this year. However, Breweries had agreed to be a part of their festival that was this
real quick,
year.
Even before that, I read in the article, because shouts to Good Beer Hunting. You guys have so many fire articles that
they do.
I'd read them before, but we did a quick catch up. There was one female manager, who worked in their San Diego tap room, who had been complaining about the SA and inappropriate behavior for 4 years.
Yeah.
Before this, so they had a history. They were a very large brewery, just to position it.
Yeah, huge.
Where they have, I think, in Copenhagen alone, if I'm not mistaken, it's like 6 breweries just in the one city. Yeah. Now they're in San Diego, they're in New York, they're in a whole bunch of different places. I think some have closed down since, but they're a very large company. So just want to position that because that actually is a part of the conversation that we're going to get to. Now,
you probably can even speak more to, I guess, the magnitude of McKellar in general. So this is like massive,
very big group,
and probably even at this time. So they're throwing this big event, right?
So they did a festival similar. I forgot the name of this, like McKellar MBBC or some shit.
Yeah.
Reminded me of like Bellwood's Witchstock type of thing, where like a brewery with a bunch of cred invites a bunch of other fire breweries with a bunch of cred, and they get to talk, which is
that's just a great summary,
right?
Yeah.
Now, people signed up for this event last year in 2020. Many breweries signed up for that. The Me Too thing, the thing with Rat Magnet, and which actually resulted in Brave Noise, which is another collaborative beer that's got, I think, about 100 breweries doing it so far, which is pretty sick. I know Bellwoods in town both did it. I had the Bellwoods version. It was great.
Nice.
MBCC. McKellar Beer Celebration Copenhagen.
Yeah.
So basically, all of these breweries committed long before this stuff happened. Now, had anything come out about McKellar's issues with management and staff and people being assaulted and things like that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Can't speak to that. I imagine not, because that level of breweries would not have committed to doing this if they did.
I don't believe that had come out in 2020.
Okay.
So
it was early this year. Now, I don't even think, because there were so many breweries that this came out about, like, There's got like well into the double
A
figures.
really disgusting, awful
horrible
volume.
amount.
Yeah, an awful volume.
Like
Just, my
really
goodness.
not okay.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
actually like what the fuck, man. Like I even just read an example of my friend Christina from Exhale Brewery in Calgary tonight. She just said a thing. She was at a bar in the middle of like a meeting with the bar owner to pitch her stuff, and then a guy who said a European beer salesman comes in and kind of just like barged in and kind of cut right in her meeting, and I was talking about girl beers and stuff like that, like all this really offensive stuff while she was there, and then she fully schooled him. Like
Yes.
bitch, I own this brewery.
Yeah.
I am here having a
Respect.
meeting right now, and she put him in her place. She's actually scary, so I'd be scared if she yelled at me too.
Shout out
But
to you.
shouts to Christina.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't end. Like the misogyny is just so rampant, and
yeah.
I can't even fathom. Like I know so many women in beer who know so fucking much more than most of the dudes I know.
Yeah.
Like I
100%.
don't know why anyone would question it. It's like it's
It
so
speaks
like,
to a larger culture already, larger society issues. That in the end spill into like unchecked places.
Well said. It's pretty pathetic, I think, and it's like it just makes zero sense. Like it's just like, why is it okay if women are sommeliers or something, but all of a sudden in beer is not okay? I feel like people make a difference anyway. There's a lot of work beer needs to do in all sorts of ways. So basically, for some reason, I want to say a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3, we're filming this on the 26th of October.
Yeah, so just after the 27th.
So just before, a couple of weeks before the festival, people start. Now I don't know where it started. I saw it from a dude in Ontario was tweeting about it, and they were tweeting about specifically the Ontario breweries who had committed.
Mm-hmm.
Two of them, both of them are breweries that we're quite fond of, Dominion City and Collective Arts. Yeah. And saying that, you know, how disgusting it was that these breweries were participating in this festival with these guys who had done some pretty bad things. And there were a ton. There were like, there's probably like 100, 200 breweries. There was a fuck ton of really, really great breweries worldwide. It was actually pretty enviable. Yeah. Look at the lineup. And so then there was a bit of a pile-on online. Now, once again, I only saw the Ontario side. I'm sure this happened in the different regions. Mm-hmm. But people were piling on. I saw people specifically saying in the comments, oh, that's it. Well, glad to know this. I'm not going to ever buy Dominion City or Collective Arts again. I was like, interesting. And this really is what we're talking about. Yeah.
This is actually immediate... It's a different conversation on the whether a brewery can be redeemed, but it ties in the fact, like, someone like Dominion City, like, come on. Like, we know, I think at this point, Dominion City has proven where their heart is, where their intentions are, where their loyalty lies, which is always to the community and to diverse communities. They make that very clear. So I think it is unfair. It comes, like, almost with a trust thing, you know? Like, do you trust that they would make the right decision? And do you think that they would purposely hurt you? And I don't believe Dominion or Collective is like a brewery that would purposely hurt. So I feel like that pile-on seems so negative, where it probably should have been something that was more like questions.
Hey,
or
guys,
like, hey, did you see about this? Like, what are your thoughts? You sure you want to do this? Instead of oh, hey, I'm not going to drink from you anymore. Because and it makes complete sense. They did something, you committed to it in 2020, all this stuff happened. You probably weren't, of all the things that were going on in the world, you probably were not even tying these things together at the time. You know, you commit to something and then so much moves so fast, you probably just weren't even thinking about that until someone brings it up and says, hey man, did you remember this happened? They were the guys who did XYZ, and then you have to be like, oh fuck. However, it seemed like, I don't like the pile on of it, and I think that's the thing that we have to be very careful of, is like how we provide feedback.
Yes, I was pretty upset when I saw that, to be honest, because it being like we just had Dominion on the Link Up series. They were episode 1 because they were the first brewery to kick off the collabs, and they were the perfect one because, you know, like not only are they friends, so I guess we're biased, but I just don't know any other brewery who's done that much for the community and just cares that much, and they mean it. It's in their DNA. Yeah. You can tell when we interview them and on the Link Up episode, we were gushing. I think it was me and Nate interviewed Josh. Whatever, last episode earlier this year or something, I can't remember either. We were gushing about them as well. So I'm like, oh, okay, so anybody can get it now. Eh? Like, no one even wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
And it was like an immediate pile-on, and it bothered me a lot. We didn't say anything publicly, which is kind of why we wanted to just talk about it at length now, because I just didn't feel like it was the forum for it. Like 280 characters on Twitter is not the place to do it. And
also, it's like nuanced and complex.
Exactly. And people weren't being. This is the thing about this cancel culture shit that kind of we're going to touch on. And
cancel and accountability.
Yeah.
So there's accountability culture. This is where I steer more in that direction.
Okay.
Holding people accountable.
But they and that's fair.
But I think
cancel.
The cancel
is people get a trial.
I think, but with Xavier Domingue, for example, or just anybody who maybe like you have to. And this is it's so funny. This is actually something that comes from Apple, and it's like with anything you try to assume positive intent. So that I actually it's taken from the Apple Bible, which is so like there's really indoctrinate you. They call it the credo. It's really intense. But I actually took leading with positive intent, and it has benefited my life so much because I go through saying like, okay, what could be the alternate scenario here? Could the alternate scenario be that you didn't realize because you committed to something in another period of time and then didn't even think about it, like when 2021 was coming up because you commit to 17 festivals and you're excited to be back out there? Or are you a misogynistic asshole who wants to support breweries? That, do you know what I mean? Like, especially knowing the brewery already, it's like, wouldn't you? You're probably going to lean on you should hopefully lean on the positive intent side versus like, oh, you don't give a fuck.
Particularly for Dominion.
Especially for a brewery
like that. That's what upset me.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I meant. So you're probably like accountability, but it felt like it was a trial. It was like execution without the trial.
Yeah,
like it went straight to like cancel.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is fair most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the other person should always. I mean, sometimes it's like they're trash. Cancel that person. Cancel that brand. I get it. Like
sometimes it's obvious. Yeah.
But then
for somebody
it's more
like
nuanced. This.
Yeah.
And there's so many things, and if all of a sudden it's almost like it felt like to me all of their many years of great work was just erased because they committed to a festival a year ago before anything bad had even come out. How were they to know that these things had been going on in Mikella? Nobody, if no one knew, and also that they're in Ottawa, they're not in Copenhagen, they're not in the fucking San Diego, New York, where they have the businesses, which I believe are the more problematic ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just think it was so ridiculous, and Collective Arts have become such a massive company now. Like, I don't know if whoever committed to it are probably not even watching either. Like,
or even, maybe you are watching, you just didn't. Care about you sometimes like people fuck up. And they just don't, they might have just really, and I'm, again, because you're leading positive intent, just assume they didn't tie it to it until someone addressed it and said, like, hey, this happened, it's not going to make people feel comfortable. And then, of course, this is why you would be like, okay, I'm going to pull out. But I think you can do that by having, like, constructive conversations instead of, like, a you're canceled.
Yes.
Because it's like you should trust
what bothered me.
The people that you've loved and supported for so long have a good heart is what you should try to lead with.
Yes.
And then the reason I was thinking about that, though, so I think that's one side, and I just hope that if there are people who've shown us over a good amount of time that they support certain communities, or that, if you believe that they had a good heart and that's why you support them all along, like give them opportunities, maybe ask questions before you just like point and say you're done for, because I'm sure that like hurt. It's probably like a lot to deal with.
I can't even imagine how Josh felt. I went to check in with him, but I kind of felt it was overstepping. Like, I saw, and the people that were piling on Dominion, there were people I knew in the industry, like, or at least peripheral, whether they were employees or similar to what we do or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was pretty disappointed because I just like, really? Like, this is what it takes? I just felt like that was the pylon. That was the immediate. I've been the victim of that back in the day, too. Like, I know what that feels like, and it's horrible. Particularly when it's like, what is happening? Like, why are you mad? What did I do now?
Yeah.
And particularly Dominion, who would be, they must have been like mortified.
Yeah.
Because their brand is the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So essentially, I saw this happening. I saw people do it, and the way I considered it, it felt like me, it was like online bullying to make them get the result that these people wanted, which was that Dominion and Collective Arts both pulled out.
Tons of places pulled out, by the way.
Right, that was the first I saw. Then it became, and they might have been the first, and then the dominoes started falling.
Okay.
There were, on the flip side of that, there was a collective of, I want to say, 6 to 8 or something like that, breweries in England, including some bigger ones. I think Northern Monk and Verdant and stuff. They wrote this interestingly, I think it was well-intentioned, poorly executed iOS press release, as we call it, like a notes app type of thing.
Yeah.
And basically what they were saying was they disagree, obviously don't stand with any of the issues that happened at McKellar, but they were like, pulling out isn't the answer. We demand that this happens, and all these different things. Do you know what
their demands were?
One of them that was the most ridiculous one was they wanted a meeting, and I believe it was in public, and it was supposed to be the victims and the people who did it to them. So they expected these people who were victims of the assault.
I can't even
to be in a public forum with the people who did it and then discuss it. Like,
oh gosh,
it was very.
And what, after the beers? Is that going to be? Is that midday after you drank like 17 beers?
After the gold award was given out, and you're like,
okay, so that's rough. Yeah, that's rough. See, that's just coming from you. I think they're like, guys, we're not pulling out.
And then they retracted that,
of course, because that's just silly. Yeah,
people exactly said that. They said to them that they were, guys, we already plane tickets and hotels already paid for. We've been waiting for this piss up all year. So they would say that, like, because they were British. So like people were pretty vexed about that.
Because that sounds ridiculous. I think in the end, and I'm going to say why. Like, I think the result that needed to happen on Dominion side and Collective Arts side was the right thing, and anyone else who pulled out, I think that was the right thing to do. And the reason why I think so is I don't like the approach to getting that to happen. No, but I do think that shit always needs to be called out. If the community overall tells you that they feel a certain way, then you have to listen to an extent. Yeah. I just think that we can go about it in a better way. But I think the reason why that should have happened is because you can't show support for a place like McKellar when my understanding is they haven't taken the real necessary steps to redeem themselves.
They said they did in a post, but it seemed like, according to the Good Beer Hunting article, they had not done anything, but they said they did. So I don't know the real truth. But if
and this is why I'm thinking of the redemption from cancellation.
So then let's move on to that.
What do you do?
I'm going to do next beer.
Perfect. My understanding from what I read briefly, and again, we're not 1,000% in here. I hope someone comments and lets me know otherwise. My understanding is that they have not directly spoken to anyone who came out against them. So any of these survivors. They did not speak to anybody. That is like
you mean
the first
McKellar didn't actually take the staff members and hear their side.
The actual people who came out and said, "I am a victim of your treatment."
Okay.
My understanding is that my understanding is that at any point in time they have not spoken to anybody.
That's horrible.
So if that's the case,
unacceptable.
That's what I'm saying. So we want to talk about like how do you be redeemed? I don't believe you deserve redemption if you can't even directly address the issue. So you can't even directly address the people that you hurt.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty fucking pathetic.
And with that in mind, then I'm like, yeah, you should not be supported. You obviously are just trying to either blow it like kind of under the rug or try to just like move on and ignore it. Like real like recovery, real redemption, all that comes from addressing the actual root of it. And the root is that it's like, okay, you did this wrong thing. Then you start working back from that in terms of like, how did we get to this place? Let me talk to this person. How do I make it so this person can move on? Because you don't even know what level of like trauma that even goes into like, for each person individually of where that extends to. So I think the first thing, and that's where they fucked up, would be not speaking to them directly.
Yeah. Okay.
If they did, somebody correct me. I couldn't find online that they did.
I did. Okay.
If they did, then somebody can let me know. So in that case, I feel like if you are somebody who gets canceled, which they were canceled, to an extent, because obviously you're still having a massive festival, so...
And it was still packed.
Which is like, okay.
But I was just thinking that the dramas, I think, were more focused on San Diego and New York.
I thought there was some in...
no, there's a bunch... Oh, there's some issues in Europe, too. Okay, so maybe Europe...
But even so, it's still the brand. Like, it's not... I'm not going to be like, oh, H&M America US was racist... But I'm H&M Canada, so like, it's different, you know. It's like it's still the brand.
I guess I'm saying that the Europeans might not be aware of it because it's maybe not as broadcasted.
Yeah, because
they could just potential. Maybe I don't know what it's like. Maybe
which would be really a shame if that's the case, because obviously it's something that needs to be addressed all the way down, deep down inside the business model.
Yeah.
But so in that case, like, can you come back ever?
Okay.
And I do feel like that is one step to coming back. Is like something you'd immediately have to address.
Because I think that's one step absolutely. Now I think we should crack this beer, and I got the next thing, which is so this next beer, real quick, is the Link Up beer from Sankian Baron. This is the only one that wasn't a. Try and hide. Here's if I can hide behind it this way too. This way.
Out of focus.
There you go. Got it. This is a Cascadian Dark Ale, which is essentially a black IPA. It's at 6%. What we're going to do this time, in the interest... Not checking the pour here. Do you want to take a photo of the pour?
Yeah, sure.
This one is great because they want to switch it up. Obviously, Sankiem's their partners in Link Up.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to do something a little... just, not the same as everyone else, just to give people a bit of diversity.
Go ahead.
On this one. Well, because it's not going to be much to pour. This time you're not going to get that much more than me. This is ridiculous. And they just want to do something a little bit different. I forgot the hops in it. It might say on the can, which I'll check momentarily. Man, it was a really fantastic beer. I'll give you a little touch more. There you go. Look at that. See, it's all about equality over here. That's what we care about here on BAOS. This is a phenomenal beer. Super interesting. Great addition to the lineup of the 6 beers. Let's cheers that and then we'll continue. Get that in you. Get it in you guys. God, they're fucking best.
Yeah, great.
Love these guys. No bias. This is exceptional. Roasty, chocolate, bitter. Great, little bit piney hops. I think there's like Chinook and Centennial and stuff in this too, so it's kind of like a West Coasty one. Money, mouth feels like in New England. It's insane. This is amazing beer. Now, what I wanted to say was, so I'll maybe like throw you like a but what if type of thing.
Yeah.
So we're talking about redemption. So one thing we do need to understand, and this is what I wanted to position, because Tiff and I, we own High Season, our agency, and we have employees, full-time employees. We only have 2, but we have employees.
Yeah.
When you have employees, sometimes everything might look good on the surface, but you can just get shit people.
Mm-hmm.
And it can happen and you might not be aware of it. Now, we have us 2 and 2 employees. McKellar probably have 500 plus employees, maybe 1,000.
Yeah.
Across it. If I'm right about their 6 pubs in Denmark, plus production breweries they probably have everywhere.
Yeah.
Plus the states.
More
and
than
stuff.
that, probably. Yeah.
So probably more.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start to scale at that point, the owner or the leadership team, like the actual people, the person who oversees marketing and sales and production and blah, 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 like all of those different people, they're so far removed from what's happening on the ground because there's multiple layers of management. This is only something I've really understood as we've started this business, that like we have to manage our employees, but we would rather someone else do the management, which is therefore you have a manager as opposed to the doer.
Yeah.
So when you start having these like hierarchies, there can be negative culture, I guess, that can form around. If you have a series of kind of shit employees who encourage each other, then all of a sudden everyone seems good when you interview them, put them into this, and all of a sudden you have this toxic culture that you don't even know about. Yeah. So people were shitting on, I believe his name is Mikkel, and his brother, his twin brother, is from Evil Twin.
Evil Twin, yes.
And they got beef, they hate each other. It's even funny.
Oh, he's probably loving it. He's probably loving it. Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
So like, how much responsibility do breweries have to take when, like, maybe this doesn't, I mean, if these type of allegations didn't get back to senior management and the ownership, I'd be somewhat surprised. I mean, that's kind of crazy, really, like that type of level shit that's like literally take you to court and shut you down doesn't get back to the top and they decide to do nothing. Like, that's fucked up if that's the truth. But I wanted to just throw that kind of, what could that mean, the different levels of whether it's a culture, them not knowing, like.
So you're wondering if this is like is that absolved because of this reason? I
guess is at what point does the redemption come in, or like the what sort of role does that play in all of this and how people feel about it. Because if they didn't know, I guess there's two ways. If they knew about it and did nothing, then they're hot garbage.
Yeah.
If they didn't know about it, then therefore the problem was worse, the disease and the culture, because it didn't leave that area. Maybe they're trying to complain because maybe the people who were getting assaulted are probably the very bottom rung, like the actual front, bartenders and people working in the front lines probably don't get access.
We have to see.
To those high people. I'm
curious what all the rules are, but there's definitely a chance that they could be there. One could be like a brewer, though. But there's a chance that they could be front of house, maybe, or...
But, there's that too. But what I'm saying is they're not high enough.
One was a manager, though, I believe.
Who got...
Yeah, I believe one was like a manager.
Okay, so that's even worse.
So I have to double check on that. But I understand the question or what you're posing here, because as a business owner, and completely, and that's a thought I had too. I'm like, wow, you could hire somebody. And in the end, they could just like destroy you because they're fucked and you didn't realize it. You hired them like 100%. And I think that was like even like a reminder to me, and I just think it's something that everyone has to consider always is like, I know we're going to lose visibility as you scale, but perhaps from the beginning, this is why you likely need to not try to skip over certain essential things that have made other companies, say for example, avoid things like this, or just checks and balances in general. And when I'm saying that, I'm like, from the beginning, I would probably be like, you know what, I'm just going to bring somebody in who's a professional in the DEI space to just like let me know like things to look for. I'm just talking on the DEI side, for example. Lets me know what to look for, maybe what systems or programs to just make sure are at the beginning. When I'm talking about culture building, when I'm talking about like, that's why HR departments even existed always, was supposed to be this person who's kind of overseeing everything. So I know that we're small businesses, but maybe it's like, okay, can I bring in a consultant just to make sure that I'm getting myself off on a good foot? Because maybe I, like we said, with giving grace to Quebec, didn't know about these issues. Maybe I grew up in a place where I don't even know about these issues because it's just not something that's been around me. So should I bring in somebody from the beginning to just kind of make sure that I stay in check? And then when I'm hiring people, they're making sure that they're staying in check. And it's something that just replicates because you create a system, because it's franchising in the end. You have to create basically a culture, a system that's like a process that probably leads this type of vibe out.
But they should have had that from the beginning, maybe?
That's what I think. What that gives light to is like, okay, that's on owners, that's on us to make sure that we're creating a culture that gets replicated in a way where like that type of negativity, hostility, just disgust, misogyny, all of that can't really exist. It just doesn't work based on the culture. And if you think about places that we've worked at, it just can't thrive. Because it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit. It's like you probably need to be overly obvious about how inclusive you are, and you have to make sure that you're also having everybody show up at every single level, so that they're more like, maybe in the end they just have too many guys who are in charge of doing XYZ. Like maybe that's the problem. You need to make sure. It's the same thing why you can't have like, they're like, oh, why is abortion made illegal? And it's like 20 old white men around the thing. They like make abortion legal. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think you have to get it from the start. And then that type of person who's like so disgusting who would do that to women won't want to work there because it's not their vibe. So, because to me, in the end, it's always going to be my fault. It's always going to be on me. Even if it's an employee that I didn't hire directly, it's always me. It's my business. So
comes down to you. Like the onus is on the ownership to know this stuff.
Yeah, and to know, yeah.
So even if they aren't being reported to, they need to figure out, like you said, these processes off the rip.
Yeah.
To be able to get that information to the right people to make those decisions so that nothing negative happens both for the good of the staff and therefore the good of the company.
Yeah. You're just going to have a better company in general. Like, this is disgusting. The shit that came out, like, during this period is, like, really...
Like, how do people get away with it?
Yeah. And it's just sad. It's just one industry, actually. It just happens everywhere. But it's like, thank goodness that, like, there came this light on this specific industry. But it's happening. It happens across the board. And that's society as a whole, again.
Yeah, no, the society...
Because things come top down. Yeah. So I would say, in the end, it's McKellar's fault for not having worked to put systems in place to prevent that. Now they're in a reaction, right? A reactive place.
Mm.
And in my mind, I'm like, okay, can you ever be redeemed? Because immediately I was kind of like, well, what the fuck? Why didn't you do something from the beginning of this, when this all came out, to this festival, so that there wouldn't have been a point where these breweries felt the need to pull out, and they could have felt confident in you that you understood what happened and you were taking the right steps to move forward.
Yeah.
But obviously they were just kind of like, nothing happened, and I'm not going to talk about it.
Right.
Because I guess it's like, do you care about the brand, or do you care more about like righting wrongs and like actually coming out and speaking to people about what went down?
I actually saw McKellar post. They did the initial post to be like, hey, we know shit's bad. These are the 4 things we did already.
Okay.
And maybe that was since
I'd be curious to see
the
what that
Me
was.
Too thing.
It's
You
a
can
bunch
check
of
that. You should be able to find it pretty easy.
Yeah.
Then there was another post that they were like, all right, guys, we fucked up. What do you want us to do? What can we do? And they were just responding to almost everyone saying how trash they were. I'm like, yep, we understand. We really need to fix this. So it was interesting because they weren't really pushing back on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
They were just letting everyone kind of vent. It's probably like a bit of a tactic where they thought that, like, just, all right,
Yeah.
what do you guys want? So, and the interesting sort of next thing from this was like, how can, because the first thing you were just talking about now was like what breweries could do to avoid this happening in the first place, is have these practices, have this transparency.
And nothing's ever going to be perfect 100%. But yeah, I think that's if it does, and you have to be fully accountable for it, and then the onus is completely on you to build that trust back and right all your wrongs.
I 100% agree.
Mm-hmm.
So then, with the next stage, which is the redemption.
Yeah.
So if you haven't been able to prevent it and shit happens, and you get that. Now, from what it seemed, the interesting about the cancel culture type of thing, whatever you want to call it, was, or the, what's the other word you said?
I said accountability.
Accountability, thank you.
Yeah.
Like,
because a lot of the times it's accountability. It's just like, no, you're not getting canceled. You're getting like,
it could
you
go
just
either
finally
way,
get what's coming to you because you're finally being held accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, accountability doesn't actually have to equal cancellation then. Because if you're like, I fucked up, here's how I fucked up, let me make sure that I make it completely clear to the person that I fucked up, and here's how I'll do whatever I can to try to make it up to you, that you tell me is the right way to make it up to you. That's just being held accountable, and then you can move on from that.
Gotcha. So then, say something like Dominion and Collective, as soon as they pulled out, everyone was saying, there you go, guys, you did the right thing. Like, most of the comments were positive. I think some people were, it's not good enough. You shouldn't have come in the first place, or committed in the first place, stuff like that.
Yeah.
The McKellar thing's on Instagram if you want to see it. But...
Oh, was it recently enough? I thought like maybe.
Oh yeah, like 2 weeks ago.
Article. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So and they have this. McKellar did respond. Okay, McKellar's 100%. I just want to say this too.
Please, yeah, read it.
McKellar is 100% supportive of the agenda and drive to ensure a safe and equal work environment for everyone in the craft beer industry. ... However, see when you put butts in however. Anyways, but however, we must also raise our hand when McKellar is being portrayed in an inaccurate and unfair manner, which is the case in this recent wave of posts. It is simply not true that we have not addressed allegations. Okay. So that's in result. So if they addressed it, then that's completely fair. Like the part of like, people shouldn't say you haven't addressed it if you have, but if people are telling you that, and if specifically victims are telling you that you didn't do it in the way you're supposed to, yeah. Holmes pulled out in the end too.
Anyone else?
People that we know.
Verdant, which is on the UK one. Interborough.
Oh, Interborough, yeah. The Vale.
I'd be pissed if I was over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
no one else.
Well, like, good for these, because it's like, if it doesn't align with you, you should. But anyway, so they've basically said they've addressed allegations. My understanding, and from what I've read, they had not directly apologized to the victims. If that's not the case, then yeah, someone listening, let us know. But back to your conversation there about it.
So I was just going from that to redemption. So one example of a very extreme. So sorry, what I was saying was like Dominion and Collective seem to be redeemed.
Yeah.
By pulling out.
I think everybody was.
Okay, everyone was like, "Hey, you did the right thing," and I at least, as much as I was annoyed with, I don't like this way of behaving. The social media pylon as opposed to the respectful email from a company who maybe you don't know or who doesn't have a record like Dominion City. Like, okay, I guess I get it, but I don't agree still. But for someone like Dominion City, like I'm almost like personally offended. Like it's just not how you should have handled that situation. I feel like if you talk to Josh, he would be like, "Fuck," and you would have got through to him without having to shit on this company who've only done good.
There's this whole thing with social though, because it's kind of like you get
people
shagged
love
on
the drama.
if you just
We
don't
love the
do
drama,
the
bro.
thing that
Hate
people
it.
want you to do or something. It's just like if you don't post this thing at this specific time to talk about this, even if you might have 75 other things going on in your life, then like you should be canceled. Like if a brewery doesn't say speak on something immediately that might not even be directly affected with them, that they might not know about yet, then you're just like automatically canceled without giving grace. That's all. I think there needs to be more grace given.
Yeah, this put it in more
as
perspective.
opposed to attacking. That's
Yes.
probably what it is. Yeah.
That's all I mean.
Yeah.
I feel like that's it. And I think that there was a little bit of that with the Black Lives Matter stuff. There was so many breweries who didn't see the value of that.
Yeah, the
last
Black Lives
year.
Matter was so rough because it was like, guys, like,
Come on.
Yeah.
But then I feel like that was the first time that I agreed with everything.
yeah,
And then since then, in the last year and a bit, I've just seen so many situations where it was sort of like, when does it end? Type of thing. And I've seen that. That's not what we're
and I think for
talking about here,
auxiliary, yeah, it's kind of like if you
but, like you have to
be
talk about
seen
every
in a
injustice
photo,
ever.
yeah, and also like if you're seen in a photo with somebody, for example, and you didn't know, that's almost like getting pulled up in a photo from 2020 with somebody who ends up being like a piece of shit, and then in the end you're screwed forever because of it. So it's like, does that negate everything that you've done? You know, so that's why there has to be grace.
Okay, so that's a great segue then. So the worst possible example we could think of in craft beer of cancellation is Founders. They were cancelled 2-3 years ago at least. Long story, go look it up. We're not going to go
Still
into
existing and in operation.
Still existing
But
in
cancelled.
operation, but
But
very
they're
heavily
cancelled.
racist.
Yeah.
They are the one brewery that every time I see anyone talk, and look, we had a great experience. Like, we've talked about it before. Like they took care of us. Everything was great. So it was, and the people that we met there were fantastic to us.
Yeah,
To us on that day, we're media, so I guess
it's a different experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
I can imagine it's very different from working there. So they had some of the most toxic shit happen there. Never took responsibility for what happened or actually admitted it. Settled out of court. Really screwed this guy over who was the employee there. Okay, so the real question, we're talking about redemption. So the real question, the hardest one to redeem is Founders. Can Founders ever be redeemed? And if so, what can they do? And sort of what does redemption look like for a brewery who may have, because I guess there's two sides. There's inadvertently fucking up, meaning like, oh shit, I committed to this festival a year ago when in 6 months after I committed, they came out that they'd got some fucked up shit happening, and then none of us even thought about the fact we're going to their festival because no one brought it up. And then all of a sudden, the internet's mad at me. Like, what the fuck? So then people were mad at Dominion and Collective and all those other breweries. Only some of them end up pulling out. There's probably 20 on that list, maybe 30.
Yeah.
And now they're all okay. So they seem to be pretty well redeemed, but they got an unfair
Pylon, you said.
pylon for sure
Yeah.
for their brand.
And in the end, and also we have to think about that they're not the ones who directly committed a crime.
That's true, but even being slightly associated got their brand dragged through the mud.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
Yeah.
I'm not okay with that for Dominion City specifically, and I can say it with more passion about Dominion than say Collective because I just know they've done a lot. But I know Collective do a lot for artists
Yeah,
and
of course,
the
yeah.
art community and things like
Yeah.
that too. Where Dominion's done a bit more for BIPOC and diversity and stuff. Anyway, so how can a brewery like McKellar or like Founders, in a more extreme case, who I think everyone is collectively
they're like
agreeing
both.
with.
They're both extreme. They're both equally extreme. They just hit different communities.
Okay, so how can they be redeemed? And if so, how?
And that's a good question because it's like, what I get the benefit of as a black woman is that you just get it from all sides all the time. So you get the women's side of things where shit goes wrong and you get destroyed, and you get the black side of things where shit goes. Because we're talking about there's two sides here of where communities are getting
Really shattered.
yeah. And in both cases, to me, it's like both breweries, for me right now, currently as it stands, aren't worthy of redemption.
Mhm.
And the Founders, to me, it's like I can't even fathom a world where they're uncancelled unless they would have to sit down with the accuser. Sit down. He would basically have to let us know what they're doing. It's like they would have to create, and this takes it back to like, you need to go back to the person and you have to right like that specific wrong. Otherwise, it's like I just can't trust. I'm not going to trust you.
Could they be the thing that take it even further for them? They specifically settled out of court, and part of the settlement was that they would never admit liability.
So it's just like, so you don't, that's not...
So it's taking ownership.
You just took business. Yeah, it's like, so take ownership. Take ownership. Say, I fucked up specifically with you. How do I make it up to you? How do I make it right with you?
And then how do I make it right for the community?
Yeah, exactly. Then how do I show the community that I still deserve to even be in front of them in any capacity, whether it be in their house, on their Instagram feed, anywhere? How do I prove to them that I even deserve their love, respect, money, all of that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only thing I can think of from like a starting point now, because you've already obviously breeded a terrible culture that allowed things like this to take place, and like the stuff that happened is like so just disgusting and like so disgusting that there's something completely happening wrong from the top down to let what happened go down in any of these situations. But I feel like, the only thing I can think of is that, like, one, do you deserve redemption?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you are deserving, what does that look like? And I feel like that looks like sitting down with that person, really admitting your wrongs, having them tell us that it's okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, hey, they came to me and they said X, Y, Z, and I'm the person who's going to choose to say I believe them, and I'm side-eyeing them for the rest of life. If that's the only way, I would probably be like, okay, because that's the person who I'm backing, because I'm backing the victim, I'm backing the survivor, I'm going to back this accused, I'm going to back this person. So if that person says, like, they've come to me and shown, and everyone who's affected, that they've come to me and shown certain things, and they've promised to do X, Y, Z, to put either their money where their mouth is, put their time where their mouth is, to really be deserving, and that also takes time. You know,
That's
so
true.
I think there's a thing that you have to put in there. It's like you can't just come back.
So it can't be one act. It needs to be a consistent
over time.
Yeah. To be like, no, we are committed. We have this policy. Now.
Yeah, we've done
all
this.
These people,
we've hired this people.
Them.
We're putting money into this economy. And we're putting money into these things that we know are going to make us better. So we're putting money into D&I programs. We're putting money into. We're donating this amount. We've made a commitment to hire this amount of people.
Black is Beautiful, didn't they?
I just can't even. That's just a joke.
I feel like that was. It felt very inauthentic. That they
I really just see. I think Founders is going to be canceled forever. I think like there's no redeeming, because if in the end you did this thing where you now said that you don't ever have to be held liable and you never have to speak of it and you never admit guilt, then that's not like where you're coming from. You're coming from like, let me pay you off and move on. So you're not trying to change. I think they did hire someone.
Oh, she left.
And then she left.
Yeah.
Which just shows of like, and then what happened from that? Was that addressed? You know,
a little bit, but I don't know. I think she might have had probably a non-disclosure, so she probably can't even talk.
So yeah,
I forgot what her name was, but she was like a very well-known.
I think they got somebody who was like, well in their.
I forgot her name. I'm sorry. She was like actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking forgot about.
Yeah,
her,
that's what I'm saying.
Like,
so
that
like
shit is
that
so
just shows
bad.
that there's something probably very deep rooted in there.
Yeah, I think they had a terrible culture, and I guess that comes back to what can sort of the higher up folks do.
Yeah, from the beginning.
And I think it's just started from the beginning, or start right now.
Yeah.
Like even if you've got 20 people at your brewery, like quick example, a brewery reached out to Link Up from BC, and it was
Gracie Hakima,
that's
diversity director.
There you go. That's her.
Yeah,
and
sorry, you can continue.
That's okay. Yeah, and she left, and I can't remember what she said. I don't know if she said enough to make it like, that's totally her. So this brewery reached out to Link Up like last week, and we're like, hey guys, so we're putting together our diversity, equity, inclusion plan for the brewery that doesn't open till April 2022.
There you go.
They're 6 months away from opening, and this brewery, who I didn't know from nothing, they found Link Up.
Yeah.
Were putting together their plan, and they wanted to know more about Link Up, and they wanted to know more about how they can set their brewery up from the beginning. And this is BC. That is a very undiverse place in comparison to Ontario and Quebec.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like, it's, there's not the breadth of different individuals from different places in BC than there is elsewhere.
Yeah.
So the fact that this person... I believe it was there's a husband-wife team, and the husband was the one who reached out. the fact that he was thinking about it from the beginning, like, that's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
I was so impressed. And I was like, let's get on a call, tell you all about it. Then in 6 months when you're ready, if you want to be a part of the series, we'd love to have you. Then we can represent for the West Coast, have at least a spot out there. And someone who's interested in it. I'm like, he wouldn't have done this. I don't know what his nationality or ethnicity was, sorry. Like, I have no clue because it's just a name from an email.
Yeah.
So he could have been of color and then being interested, or he could be a white dude who is more tapped in. But at least he realized that it was important to be done, and I never seen anything like that before, and I was just so deeply impressed that he wanted to know how we could make it right from the beginning, and I think that's what hopefully we're going to see more of that. Yeah,
as Breweries thinking about that, it's like, you know what, like, it's going to just cost you a bit to maybe just have someone just kind of around coming in, consulting, just to make sure that things are on the up and up. Just so they can sit down and talk to employees. It's going to save you in the long run. And maybe that's kind of what it is. So it's like, if you have, for some reason, shit could, I'm sure, still going down in certain places. If you're an owner and you want to make sure that everything is checking out well, and that nothing's going down, that you don't want to, one, hurt the people that are working for you and who trust you, but, like, damage your business and your reputation because you can't see it. Like, bring somebody in. Maybe they just got to talk to the employees a little bit every now and then. You know, maybe someone's coming in every quarter and just be like, hey, how's it going? How's the environment? Maybe that's what it looks like, but I think it makes sense. And it's like, now we've talked about we're talking about cancellation prevention in a way.
Cancellation prevention.
But that's kind of like what it is. And I think it's because, you know what, you need to just be aware at all times. And that's what I even took away from that, because I thought that. I'm like, oh my gosh, that could totally happen to us, where we don't know what's happening.
Yep.
So it's like, we need to build a culture from the beginning that is, making sure that people know that they can't be, that it's unacceptable and it's not even something that could stand for in any way.
Yeah.
And if you see anything in an inclination for a second, like, just get rid of that person.
I think they're going to be a zero, higher
tolerance.
fast, fire faster.
Yeah, zero tolerance.
Yeah, just gone. Because if someone goes, like, but then can that person be redeemed? Maybe they need to learn their lesson, that you don't want them around your company ruining your hard-earned reputation.
If you're that type of person, that's like more like therapy. You need some other level that a business does not have to worry about, like, redeeming you. It's like, if you're shit, you need to work on yourself. That's like a whole other.
Yeah.
Like, the brewery should take the onus of that. So I'm like, you just let go of the person. That's what they learn from. At least it's just like, okay, you do shit like that, you get cut. But then there's this also side, like, you probably need to look at who you are as a person.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole other deeper conversation there. But I think that would be our position on it if we had that and just be going. I pretty much zero tolerance. I don't want any of that stuff around, and would never want even to remotely risk it. But I mean, you know, we have this is why I kind of wanted to relate it to us, because we always say this, but we have more of a digital company. Our expenditure or capital outlay is so much less than a brewery. Mm-hmm. Like, I couldn't imagine having that much money on the line and having that sort of stress about, those employees, where for us it was just easy, like, the fuck out, it was gone.
Yeah.
I guess a brewery has to be probably even more vicious about it and just really protect that brand. Like, everything you work for, you get so much on the line for it. Yeah. And it could start with one person. It could start with a few idiots. It probably starts with the one person. The one person gets hired, and then we all know that people tend to just hire people who look like them and act like them. It's just like you hire reflections of yourself a lot of the time. Happens, that's just like a known phenomenon. Just known that that's what happens. So in the end, you start breeding in the same awful type of people, and then it just expands. So it's something that has to be addressed, I'd say, from the beginning, and it's worth just getting consulting and thinking about it, or talking to people, doing your own research, just doing what needs to be done to make sure that you're creating a very safe, inclusive, equitable, diverse environment. And from the redemption side of things, though, I will never forgive founders. Forever. Sorry, but we'll see. Well, if something happens, I need to read more on that. But it feels like they're not trying to not be canceled. Yeah, I don't know if McKellar in the end are going to take this. Like, maybe they were just in the full event of swing of things, and now hopefully the hope would be that they look back and be like, man, people are still very angry with us. Like, how do we make this better? Yeah. They probably should cancel the event, or whatever.
how do we make this better? How do we address this? Because we're not showing up how we should be. Mm-hmm. So I hope that they look at that, and anyone else who got canceled, I hope they all took the full accountability, addressed the problem specifically with the people that had accused them directly, and then looked at like how does healing happen from there. And that would be my hope.
You summed it up perfectly. Also.
Oh, okay, well,
great.
thank you.
That's phenomenal.
That's a thought. So,
I feel like
the question is, they can be redeemed, perhaps.
Perhaps.
Like, you can be canceled, but you might not be canceled forever if you take accountability.
I think this is
kind of see where we're coming from.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. It seems like maybe this is something we could revisit in a little while, like if something else happens, and maybe see how that's looking.
Yeah.
Because I think the McKellar story is more interesting because it's current. The founder's story was kind of put to bed when they settled and with no liability.
No, it was like, oh, you really don't care.
Yeah,
okay,
like,
then.
oh, so y'all really meant that when you did that with the printer. Like,
yeah.
with the printer shit up. That's fucked up. If you think that's okay, then fuck, man. Whenever I see anybody even engaging with founders, I think they don't know, or it's just like, I like old AIPA. I want that. I mean, look, KBS is fucking world changing, but you know, what are you supposed to do?
I don't know. It's also the same people. Yeah, it's just like it extends because it's actually this like conversation of cancel versus accountability versus like woke versus like all the things that are happening. You know, because things can go so far on one side, and a lot of the times it does result in something good. Harvey Weinstein, that results in something where you're in jail.
Great.
Cosby, unfortunately,
got out.
He was supposed to be in jail, but got out on technicality. So ridiculous. R. Kelly's in jail. I'm just talking about all these bad people. This big movements help them be held accountable for what they do. So 100%, it's important, and those are the good things that come out of it. But we do have to be careful of the approach in certain situations. It seems like.
I think that's really what we're saying here overall. Just making sure that it's the checks and balances are made, and that people are given an opportunity at least to explain themselves. Maybe it's different when Harvey Weinstein had
there's no explaining. Those people are not explaining. Yeah. But like, give them an opportunity to redeem themselves.
Yes.
I guess like we should all be open to redemption.
Which is really what we would like to
if the people who got fucked are open to the redemption, then we can all be open to it.
Fucked over, I suppose.
Sorry,
that's a little too close to home.
Sorry, guys.
Yes. I think that's really what we're saying, and the social media pylons, I think, need to stop, and I think they need to be more constructive in the people.
Yeah, not need to stop, and sometimes they work. But
well, it depends what it is.
Yeah,
like saying the Dominion City, it didn't need to be that way. That one really irked me, deeply, and I'm not really forgiving of the people. I can think about them now. I haven't forgiven the people who did that.
I guess you see how someone can turn so quickly.
And I didn't like it because there's people in the industry, and they did that, and they were kind of sanctimonious about it, and I don't like it. Like, it rubbed me the wrong way really badly.
I actually missed all of that.
Yeah,
you guys, I'm not on the internet really as much. Well, I'm just working it, and I miss a lot.
I have people send me stuff all the time. Lots of different beer chats. People talk about
so you
things,
you give me the good the information about what's hot, what's happening, what's the drama.
I would have rather it happen in a more respectful way, particularly because some of these people work for some good breweries and stuff, and maybe they need to look in the mirror themselves. Maybe they're not perfect either, and they're like,
or you just
spraying
trust
all these
that
shots.
some people with a good track record
there's that
aren't always operating with negative intent. Like, trust that sometimes people make mistakes and there are oversights, especially when you're running a business, or if you're running a household, or if you just have 75 things on your plate. Sometimes you might just fuck up, and I think gentle words that come from trust and understanding are much more productive.
Thank you. You say so much, but I'm so angry about it. I'm not angry, but you say it so nicely. And that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah,
I feel like I kind of want to leave it on that note, nice and positive. This was fun.
Yeah, good chat, good conversation. I like to hear what people say. Do you have canceled breweries that you're still purchasing from?
Ooh.
If so, why?
I'd love to know. Maybe
I'd
we
be
can
curious
let people
to know.
Let us know.
But if there was someone you canceled, because I'll say during like BLM, during the real uprising in June, I canceled breweries that I canceled still forever because they did not come out at any point in time or say something. But I saw you especially leverage the community in certain ways. So it's like, oh, you're here for the money. You're here for the money. You're here for the culture. You're here for fun and stuff. But you're not here when shit gets written. Yeah. So for sure. So there's that side of things, but I would be curious, like, are you drinking from a canceled brewery? Yeah. And if you stop drinking from a canceled brewery, what could they do to make you come back around? If anything at all.
That's a good one. I'd like to know, and even if you don't want to say it publicly or whatever, like, shoot us a DM or we won't put you on blast because
I'm just
We're not
curious.
those type of
I'm
people.
actually curious because
Yeah.
that's the one thing I'm
That'd
thinking.
be a
Like,
cool follow-up.
damn, should you just quit? Like, I'm like, oh, well, you got fucked. Like, should you leave now? Or
Maybe when we promote this, we could ask them on stories and stuff and like let us know.
Yeah.
What you think? No, we'd love to know. That would be awesome. Tiff, where can everyone find you? Where would you like people to find you?
You can find me at Liquid X Happiness on Instagram.
Yes, Tiff is our producer, if you don't know, and also the wine, spirits, coffee, and craft beer platform, Liquid X Happiness. Super fire reels coming these
Oh,
days.
stop. I'm just trying every now and then, you know, to do
bring
a
back
thing.
the old
When I
shit.
post once a week, you know.
Right, you know the vibes. So this was great. This was fun. I love these pods. We're going to keep these ones coming, I think, throughout the year. Oh, we have, I was going to tease it real quick. We have a new live segment probably coming, starting.
Yes, but don't speak anything about it.
No, I'm not saying nothing, but maybe like in November, we'll probably start it
When
at some
things start
point.
getting cold and everyone's out.
Yeah,
home.
people are not as going out. We have a new live thing. It's not a podcast. It's just this live video that Tiff and I are going to be hosting. We've been wanting to do this for literally years.
Yeah.
And we kind of feel like it's about
We were
time.
supposed to do it with Clubhouse. You remember we were going to do that?
We were.
talked about
But
that. So yeah,
Clubhouse
it's time
died
now.
quick.
Yeah.
So now we're going to do back on the YouTube live.
It'll be fun.
I think it's going to be great fun.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. So just keep an eye out.
It's
There's
just
gonna be
literally
some-
for us. It'll just be fun for me and you.
Yeah.
Period.
It's
But I
kind
think
of like,
other people
it's
will
a craft
enjoy
beer
it.
adjacent.
Yeah, I think other people will enjoy it too. But it's like we would just have a good time doing this. It's one of our kind of hobbies.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That's something that we're into. So we got that coming. So keep an eye out for that. Make sure you guys follow Link Up at Link Up Beer Everywhere. Series 2 coming early next year. And we've got a bunch of stuff. We're going to be launching a job board. And we've got merch and you know, more opportunities for people. We want to keep going. So make sure you follow. But everybody, thank you so much for watching and listening. If you enjoyed the episode, what should they do?
Smash the thumbs up if you're actually on a computer.
If you're on a computer and if you're
Hit
on
the
the phone,
subscribe. Hit the
tap it gently. Yep.
Yeah, tap it. Oh, hit subscribe below.
Yep.
Hit the notification bell, ding, so you don't miss any other videos from us. You can follow us everywhere at BAOS Podcast.
And we drop these podcasts at 8 p.m. We make them premiere 8 p.m. every
Yes, there you
Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern.
I knew there was another CTA.
That was it. That was the other
Okay,
CTA. You
okay,
know the vibes.
perfect, yeah.
And make sure you subscribe, follow whatever it is on any podcast networks. Give us a rating and review. It helps a ton. We're still charting. We're charting somewhere weird recently. Like when I say weird, meaning not our usual places.
Yeah,
it's
not
dope.
North America.
Yeah, fuck, I forgot what it was. I saw it. It was yesterday. I don't know why. It's been a time. But, you know, you guys are supporting. This is great. Tons of content coming. Got a bunch of fun pods coming up in the next few weeks. So stay tuned, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next episode. Get in ya.
Bye, guys.